Welcome to the Surly Horns Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 22, and we have lots to talk about, especially when it comes to recruiting, the effects of recruiting with the name, image, and likeness, and then what does Surly have anything to do with name, image, and likeness? We're going to talk about all that, but first, RGB3, how you doing?
I'm doing a lot better now that I've showered. This morning started off
Congrats on the sex.
kind of rough. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, I wish. This morning started off a little rough. Decided to take my daughter to school, and she decided that she would prefer to vomit all over me. My kids go to a church school. Basically, we pulled up. I got my oldest out. She's cool, whatever. Get my youngest out. She's perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. She's not sick at all. And she proceeds to burp and then just cover me in vomit from my shoulder blade all the way down to my torso while I'm carrying two backpacks and their nap mats and basically everything. The only thing she had to eat was just milk. So it was just pure curdled milk all over me from my fucking neck down to my shoulder. And I get to drop my oldest off and I say, hey, I'm not dropping my youngest anymore. She vomited all over me and all over the parking lot. Just take her. They're like, sir, you have baby vomit in your beard. So I decided to, I walked back to my truck and I pop my top off, pop my shirt off. I'm like in the church parking lot and I'm like, all right, I've loaded her up, get her back.
Titties
I hose her off the second I get home. Yeah. But it was in my shoes. Somehow it had gotten into like my boxers. It got into my socks, everything just covered in milk baby vomit. So now I've showered. I'm going to have a margarita and I'm going to feel a lot better about myself.
I had a much better experience with my child this morning. We went and got a haircut and then just ate burgers, and it was fun.
That sounds better.
It's really nice. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the weather in nearly mid-July. We're not even at 90. We're at 85, and it is a little bit more humid, but this has been nice.
Yeah, no, keep that rain coming. Yeah, people bitch about the rain. Oh, it's raining. Fuck that. Normally it's 110 with 100% humidity anyway. Just keep it raining. Keep it going. Give me an excuse to sit in the AC.
So we have a special guest for today's podcast episode. Let's give a warm welcome to Closetojumping.
So guys, I met RGB3 yesterday in person, and I have to tell you, for anyone who's listening, he's a vague, not even really a vague. He's not a bad doppelganger version of Tom Herman.
That's what everybody keeps saying. I don't see it. I don't see it.
It's terrifying to meet him and have him sitting there talking. You keep expecting him to start being condescending and declarative.
Hey, I think it was that Kendra Scott was sitting on my lap. I think that's why I look like Tom Herman.
I don't know how I missed that all this time that we've been doing the podcast together. I don't know how I never identified.
I heard it on the Shotgunning Beers thread. Everybody said, oh yeah, it looks like a slightly chubby version of Tom Herman. Except Tom Herman himself is also slightly chubby depending on what photo you look at. And he's like some kind of weird like Animorphs character where he looks different in every single fucking picture. And hey, guess what?
You're going to hurt his feelings because I hear he listens to your podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure. Tom, hey, if you're listening, go fuck yourself.
I was going to say the same thing. Hey, Tom, fuck you. Go die in a fire.
Yeah. Oh, God. Hey, winning's hard, guys, okay? Winning's hard.
Really, really hard.
You know what else is really hard? Fucking recruiting.
Yeah.
It's hard on my liver right now.
It's not been very hard on the Surly Horn servers. I'll tell you that. People are not super stoked right now. Let's talk about some general sports first, because there are several championships apparently that have either happened,
but nobody gives a shit,
or near happening. Yeah, pro sports is great.
NBA Finals is fucking boring as shit. Who's even watching it?
I mean, Giannis isn't even playing, right? It's like
no, he is.
Or I guess he played in game 2, right?
I think he played in both. I think he's played the entire time, but I know he's been trash and he takes like 15 seconds to shoot a fucking free throw, which is just unreal. That's unreal.
It's very good.
Is it 0-2? or did they play last night in Milwaukee?
I don't even know. I haven't even paid attention. This is when I jump on ESPN. This is the only way I can figure out what the fuck's happening with basketball.
All I know is sometimes I get alerts, and all it says is CP3 scores lots of baskets, and the Suns are winning games.
Suns in 4. That's all. I mean, that
Suns
guy
in
will.
4.
If the Suns actually win in 4, that guy will go.
You really think that?
I mean, they're up 2-0 right now. Well, you saw the guy that uppercutted the other guy, right? He said Suns in 4, and then he uppercutted the other dude. Was he a Clippers fan or a Nuggets fan?
No, he's a Suns fan. Oh, that was when they were
no,
yeah,
the guy
it was when they were playing. Yeah, I don't know. He was a Clippers fan, I think.
Probably deserves.
I think they're gonna. It's the NBA. It's rigged. So the Bucks will win these 2.
They'll push it to 6 or 7.
It's got to go 6 or 7. Come on.
Yeah, you would think because there's nothing else on. I mean, shit.
Right.
Hockey's
Even
over.
if the ratings are terrible, there's nothing else going on.
Congrats to the Lightning.
Because the Stanley Cup is now decided.
And that was a blowout. Gentleman's sweep.
It was a gentleman's sweep. They actually let them win they actually let them win to not embarrass them. That game 4.
If my Golden Knights made it, it would have been a fucking series, but they didn't. So I'll just deal with it. Deal with my pain.
Did you see that whoever runs the Stanley Cup Twitter account? Because there's a verified Stanley Cup Twitter account where it's like from the perspective of the actual trophy itself. He added Tom Brady and was like, "Don't throw me, I'm too heavy."
Yeah, I'm too heavy. Yeah, I'm too heavy to throw.
and then Tom Brady tweeted back.
Yeah, Brady's response: "You're a lot lighter with tequila, basically."
Yeah, he said everything's a lot lighter with tequila. All right, so moving on, because that's all there is from other sports, really. I mean, I guess the baseball. MLB.
Well, hang on. We can talk Astros all day.
I can absolutely talk Astros all day.
Did they win last night?
I
turned off the game when they were down.
No,
in the 5th inning.
Otherwise, they're just wrecking that ass.
Last night,
it fucking sucked. But we're gonna fucking wax that ass today. It's Garrett Cole, right?
Yeah, and Greinke.
No, we're gonna wax that ass tonight. Hey, Garrett Cole, you
so
can't
the
use
All-Star game,
Pine Tar anymore, bitch.
The All-Star game. Well, I mean, yeah, and then you've got Trevor Bauer, who's beating up women.
Oh,
yeah,
couldn't happen to a better
Trevor
person.
Bauer. Fuck. Let me get on a soapbox here for a second. So we've always heard, people in glass houses not throwing stones. His stone is fucking rape and assaulting women. He's the most outspoken motherfucker on the planet about every fucking issue in baseball. He has to be baseball's fucking savior, God's gift to fucking baseball, and he's punching women in the ass after he chokes them out and butt fucks them while they're unconscious. Yeah, buddy. You should be in jail, and I hope you enjoy your prison cell, you fucking bitch. I fucking hate that guy. I cannot stand Trevor Bauer, and anybody that supported him, fuck you too.
It's Bizarro world. I don't understand.
So you're saying fuck all Dodgers fans
absolutely.
as well, then?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Fuck Dodgers fans. Fuck Yankees fans. Fuck Boston Red Sox fans. Fuck basically anybody that's not an Astros fan. So eat my balls.
I'm with you.
Eat my entire fucking ball sack.
What I don't understand, and this is similar vein to the Deshaun Watson stuff, is that there are ways to do this. I mean, I question less the why, but more there are ways to do this whenever you make $100 million plus to just make it go away, right? Just do it with somebody that's okay signing some documents that say you're going to punch them in the back of the head after you
fracture their skull. So I have some legal advice for Trevor Bauer. Just go on the Sugar Baby thread, and you will find somebody willing to have whatever you would like to do to them done to them. Actually, if somebody wants to tweet the thread to him, that would probably be good. I can't. I've been blocked for 3 years by him on Twitter. But somebody else should send him.
How did they block you?
I think I just called him a bitch or something. It wasn't as good as I feel like I had some more heat that I could have laid in there. And I was a little disappointed I got blocked so early because I had some more shit to throw out.
Well, magical Jeff Ketchum on Twitter could tweet him.
That's true. We do have our favorite Jeff Ketchum Twitter burner. So, which needs to be more active. That absolutely, that absolutely has to be one of the most active. If we could just combine the Surly Horns Twitter and the Ketchum Twitter, it's a thing that needs to happen.
The technology exists.
Well, seriously, we've struggled keeping up with it because of lives getting busy and whatever. But it's not something give another person or two access if they want to be active. If they can carry the same tone. But our plan this fall is to just run it over. Because we're, like everybody else, ready to get back to something a bit more active. And college football season, this year should be. I'm hoping for big things. That's probably too optimistic, but we should have some fun.
All right, I have an idea.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Jeff Ketchum has also blocked me. So I called him an oatmeal cream pie puta, and he blocked me. But the current at Jeff Ketchum. So I have a plan now. We have to get at Jeff Ketchum verified on Twitter. And I don't know if his is verified or not, but we need to get our Jeff Ketchum account verified before him.
We can't even get verified. I was going to talk about that. Twitter denied us.
Yeah, it was bullshit.
Wait, Twitter denied them?
Denied us.
They denied us. They denied Surly Horns. Yeah, we're trying to get verified, and apparently Surly Horns isn't a big website.
He tried to get our Twitter handle. This is years ago. This is the audacity of somebody who has delusions of grandeur like that dude. He went to Twitter to try to get our handle banned.
Number one, who are you?
Yeah. He's a pseudo celeb.
He's gonna name himself the real Jeff Ketchum or something like that. I mean, we could do an entire podcast of just going through Jeff Ketchum. He doesn't have Surly Horns blocked. That's good. That's a good thing for me to know. I can get blocked twice.
So what's really funny is when we were going in hard on that OU guy.
Oh yeah.
The other night, that I kept getting warnings before I was going to tweet. It was like, "Are you sure this has abrasive language and may get you banned?" And I was like, "Send tweet."
Who are you going after?
Some OU site for some reason some fucking idiot sooner that we just. The funny thing is the Surly Horns Twitter. If y'all don't know it, that are listening, it's me, Rick, and Bob are all on the same Twitter. So who knows who's firing what off? Normally it's me whilst drunk. So either that or like Pinkerton's tweets and I just retweet it because I'm hungry. But I do have some good, just for people that don't know about the at Jeff Ketchum Twitter handle that we have. Here's some of the gems. I can't smell the difference between my burps and my farts. My balls have the meat sweats. There's nothing as freeing as taking a dump outside. These are back in 2022.
Oh, there were some gems. Look, man, all that credit, the vast majority of that credit goes to Sidney Carton because it's ridiculous. And he's been the driver of it, which is the problem. He had a kid, got married, had a kid. So you see this total fall off over the years, but he's threatening a comeback this fall, so we'll see what happens.
Here's my favorite. Does anyone know? God damn it! Does anyone know where I can buy ham by the bushel? My ham guy, my ham guy retired at 34. Hashtag starving.
I forgot about some of these.
Oh, those are really good.
Sorry.
Those are really good. We've got to, I think there's some interaction that needs to start happening there for sure.
That's so good.
Along the lines of this, we do have some good news to report.
I have another. Let me do one more, and then we'll cut.
I'm sorry, man. The ham thing. I'm crying. Jesus.
A bushel.
Yeah, keep going. His hand got retired. What was it, retired at 36?
Here's a good one. I'm clenching my butt cheeks so hard that I've sweat through my couch. Wings were a bad.
I mean, it would be cruel if it was anybody else.
Yep. Fuck you, Jeff.
That guy and what he is, the damage he's done associated to his actions around recruiting and so forth for Texas. I've, no love there whatsoever. So
don't
steal
from charity golf tournaments and be a fat piece of shit. It's not hard. I haven't done it. I'm a fat piece of shit, but I haven't stolen from a charity golf tournament. So Let's get back on track.
So Texas won the Directors Cup.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I guess.
This is
I don't
good
know.
news.
I didn't really know what it was. Because Stanford won it like every fucking year that's ever existed, right? Like it's never been. This is the first time we won it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They won it 27 years in a row. Then we won it. The team that won it before the school that won it before them was North Carolina, I believe, in 93, 94, 92, 93. We're always, even as shitty as we've been over the last 11 years I say we, the program we root for, as shitty as it's been in many different sports over the last 11-ish years, still finish in the top 10 most of the time during that run. And before then, it was always like a top 5 or a number 2. But Stanford has 33 or 34, sports. So they excel in all the Olympic stuff. And, they produce a lot of Olympians. So it's all great. But it's a bit imbalanced when Texas has, 18 or 19 sports. Do you guys follow I don't mean like religiously, but I mean like when there's news, when there's games, if it's on TV, do you follow stuff beyond like football, baseball, basketball, women's basketball?
We were a volleyball podcast for like 3 whole episodes. Like, we're all about it.
Yeah.
I follow all those threads that the guys start on the other sports forum, the Texas other sports sub forum, and some of those guys are really into it. They're really good in terms of like talking around sort of strategy and recruiting and what have you regarding like women's soccer, the both men's and women's tennis and track and field and stuff. And I mean, look, at this point, we don't know what we have with Sarkisian and his staff, right? We're hopeful, but we haven't seen anything yet. Baird, it's the same thing, although Baird's team, they look like they're taking no prisoners.
Baird looks like a fucking
I have a lot of confidence in what's happening there. And then women's soccer. I forget the woman's name. Kelly, I think, is her last name. And she's just done nothing for forever with a bunch of talent. And she has brought in like the best class in the country. So at some point, you have to think with the way Del Conte's handled other non-revenue sports. Like if she doesn't get it done like this year, I'm assuming contract's up. Yeah. Let's move on. But that's about it. Every other sport, man, they're excelling. It's exciting.
Eddie Reese is coming back too. We were talking about Eddie Reese retiring. He's coming back for another year. He wants that Coach K retirement tour.
I knew that he was back around the program. I didn't know that he was actually going to come back and coach.
He's back. Yeah,
he rescinded.
Oh, so they can't. Maybe they just couldn't find a good successor, and he was like, "Well, I'm not going to let the program go to complete shit."
Yeah, I don't follow. I mean, I follow it to see the results, but I don't follow it like knowledgeably to like know what happened or anything. But frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they were discussing on the Eddie Reese is coming back thread, because it won't surprise you guys. It might surprise some other people. There is an Eddie Reese is coming back thread on Surly.
Yep. No, it's
that's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's good. He's a fucking champion. So. Oh, hey, look, our IT guy, his feed crapped out again, which is always my favorite part of the podcast. This happens basically the past like 4 or 5 podcasts. Is this guy is the tech wizard and his internet sucks and mine's awesome. So he'll be back.
Does it still get recorded? Are we still on?
We're still on. And normally I don't have another person to riff off of. So I just go on a tangent for about 5 to 10 minutes of just me talking about probably shotgunning beers or barbecue or just getting drunk. So yeah, this is a nice change of pace that I actually have somebody to talk to.
For context, we're less than 2 weeks into the Wild West, the opening of a brand new frontier regarding name, image, and likeness for athletes, college athletes. And it's pretty exciting and also very disturbing to think that Texas is not where we thought it was going to be coming out of the gate, underestimating the opportunities and scared of what they may mean to the athletic department.
Yep.
Which is on brand.
Yeah, we had 2 fucking
very on brand.
Oh yeah, totally on brand. We had 2 full years to figure this shit out. I mean, that's the crazy thing. And it's like now it's resorted to me and CTJ and Sydney Carton and other guys getting together at a Mexican restaurant and trying to figure out, hey, how can we fix this? Because we've been caught fucking flat-footed when we had 2 years to do this. Like, and now we're talking about like, hey, how fast can we turn this around? How fast can we get something moving? Because Oregon is dropping fucking 6-figure NFTs on motherfuckers' heads right now. It's crazy. It's wild.
For further context, like word is, and people can choose to believe what they want to believe, and that's all fair. But from those who I'm familiar with and have relationships with offline, like outreach into the athletic department. I don't want to run anybody over on, in public here, so to speak. But the reality is, sounds like Longhorn Foundation people and Del Conte himself don't really want to have anything to do with any part of the NIL realm. And I don't know if that's because there's some sort of scenario here where they're thinking that if NIL is successful, that they're going to have less money coming in from donors, because I think that's folly and misguided if that's what they're doing. I don't know if it's just they're scared of some premise around the NCAA showing up one day and saying, ha ha, after the NCAA's already said basically follow your state rules, we want no part of this, and we have an enforcement arm of like 3 people and a hobo. So I mean, it's just sort of classic Texas cowardice coming from non on field on court leadership, and it's really disappointing to see when there's a ready and willing sort of multi-tiered, I believe, donor base who'd like to help out, who'd like to start putting money into players' hands legitimately for, producing content for them or making appearances or what have you, which is all perfectly above board now, since July 1. And there's nothing to be scared of from that front. And if somebody does do something wrong, well, that'll be obvious and that'll be reportable and people learn lessons and move on. But the premise that other schools aren't going to be aggressively taking advantage of this in every way, including corrupting it in their own way, is absurd. That is all going to happen, and not participating and not being active is not an option. That's a ridiculous notion. So I'm hopeful that we can organize and formulate a strategy and approach as a alumni base, that there's some leadership that steps in. My understanding is there's a willing set of people to put money forward, from anywhere from, your people who could put in $5 a year in the crowdfunding scenario, all the way up to major donors who'd like to contribute, and make sure that guys like B. John Robinson and other stars, Texas quarterbacks, whomever, can have, basketball players, you name it, can have an impact on their businesses, and also have, a reciprocal impact where they actually get compensated fair market value. And some of these guys can make some real money, and almost all of them, if we were to do it right, could make some money. And that would be leveraging also the power of our brand and size of the donor base, and a competitive advantage compared to the vast majority of other programs out there. But yet here we are with nothing but, our dicks in our hands, it looks like, coming from the AD side.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to, I think, most outsiders at this point, and it's exhausting, for me to watch. Obviously, I'm not a big money donor where I'm like, hey, here's $1 million, Bijan, advertise my shit. But I don't want to sit on the sidelines. I feel like, especially, even with just the Surly platform, there's enough that we could do to help and benefit the program that we should be acting on it. But, we're caught just as flat-footed because our leadership was caught that flat-footed. It's Texas itself has such a powerful brand and such a powerful name. It's like, well, how do we monopolize that? And how do we, get the most bang for our buck, per se? And like you said, we have the big money donors that, can take care of the Bijans and stuff. Like, there's no reason why some crowdsourced stuff, even from Surly, can't take care of, the backup tight ends and, the defensive line,
So here's the one thing is, I know that the university and boosters can't be directly involved in facilitating or explaining or going out and finding sponsorships and deals for these guys, but they can give them at utexas.edu email address that's like nilfootball@utexas.edu, and they can be like, hey, this alias is going to be like for the football team, and there's no coaches on it or anything, and anybody can send an email like saying, hey, we're interested in blah blah blah, and then if the player reads it and they're like interested, they can reach back out to said person that reached out to them. Right now, there's no that like the athletic department needs to do something that isn't direct facilitation, right? It's not, I need to call the guy that I know in the athletic department or somebody that I'm giving money to at Texas X's and being like, hey, I want to talk to Bijan, or hey, I want to talk to Overshown. It's more, I just want to reach out to the program. I have no idea how to fucking get a hold of these people, because it's impossible to, like, unless you're on campus, how the fuck is a grown man who has a business or woman or whoever going to get a hold of any one of these players? Right now, access is mainly the issue. And And there's been no mechanism for access because nobody's been able to pay these players to do anything for them. So there was no reason for that access to exist. And there was actually a pretty good reason to prohibit access to the program. Where right now, what we want to do is open up access so that these guys can talk to business owners. They can talk to people interested in either providing, dollars for in exchange for sponsorship or appearance fees or autographed memorabilia, or even just any business opportunity that has to do with that player's name, image, or likeness, like a video game, or there was a lot of really cool stuff that came out on day one, like that video game platform where you can play games with your favorite player. And I feel like Texas just whiffed so hard on setting up some way to open the communications to people that could legally talk to the players.
Yeah, I mean, well, a couple things on that, Rick. So one, like they have signed up and allowed access on Open Doors, but it's a very um, disconnected, non-curated, I would say impersonal way to try to establish some sort of way of working with a player or players. It seems relatively cut and dry, so not a lot of room for nuance in there either. And I think organization's ultimately going to be key. And to your point about whiffing on things, it looks like, as far as I've read and understood it, Texas, based on the consulting and so forth over the past few years, has been focusing on enabling players to understand sort of here are your risks. Here's sort of how to think about contracts and taxes and other things. So they've got some sort of background for players and context on that. And then they were assuming the focus on all of this was going to be about social media and merchandise. And very clearly, it obviously Oregon has competitive advantages against everyone else because it can be, Phil Knight, the booster, did this. But really, what did he do? He probably pulled a Tiger team from Nike's marketing department offline for six months or a year and said, how do we enable, how do we get creative here and monetize things for players? And they came up with a strategy that we're seeing in very early days unfold, which is, well, one simple, straightforward way is an artist does an NFT with a player, and then boosters like you buy it and pay them, and that's all reasonable and perfectly doable. It had nothing to do with someone posting something in social media. It had nothing to do with selling merchandise, right?
Well, NFTs are technically right. It's merchandise. That'd be like buying a poster of the guy.
Sure. It's memorabilia, but I mean, it's not like they've their own clothing line. Is my point, right? So it's the purest form, if you really want to look at it, of name, image, and likeness compensation. Guy in a uniform, stripped of the school, stripped of logos, but still the colors, so you know who he is with his number, and he gives his image away to an artist who then sells it and leverages it, and he winds up making the kid winds up making $100,000 on it, and I mean, yay for them. That's repeatable everywhere, by the way. But the trick is, I mean, it's not like that. There's a patent or that's IP that is can't be copied. Like every other school should be looking at how to do that right now. RGB3 and I talked about this yesterday, where in reality, if you sign 20-ish guys on average every year as a program, and you paid them all some money for an NFT each year, call it a reasonable figure, call it $2,000, and it's their first NFT as an adult athlete, and many of them never come to fruition as a star or an NFL player or what have you. But if you play the math right, okay, and a school like Texas, as poorly as we've done putting guys in the NFL, the math should still work, especially with a good staff, where some of these guys do go on to become first rounders or collegiate superstars or go to the NFL. That NFT, when auctioned off, is worth a lot more money down the line and probably pays for all of the other NFT work you did for the backup guard and the backup tight end and the third string safety. Okay. And those guys all get compensated, and you can lock it up in the blockchain where every time that NFT after auction is resold or reused for pay, you as the seller and the athlete get a percentage of the proceeds. So and that's the thing about Thibodeau's deal. He's going to make money on that potentially for the rest of his life. Anytime that something like that's reused in some purpose or resold, he's probably a part of the compensation structure in the blockchain for it.
Yeah.
that's a great deal for everybody. It's like a digital baseball card, right, or football card in this instance. The guy's getting paid. The buyer is not getting gypped. Like, they know what they're doing when they're paying that money. The artist makes some money. Like, that's great. We should be looking at that as frankly, it's a business model. If you get down to it, it's a reasonable bet. It's not a lottery ticket that you could come out in the money every year you do it with those players. And it's just one thing the players are getting, right? It's not, it's one thing out of 100 if it's being done right. It's a layer cake for them.
Well, and I feel like, so for me, I think the biggest opportunities are merchandise and memorabilia. Like that's what all the pro athletes are doing. And then obviously the big pro athletes get endorsement deals that are worth, 7-figure plus, a lot of 6-figure plus endorsement deals. Like, who knows how much Marshawn Lynch gets from Skittles for doing really ridiculous shit, like filling a car full of Skittles and then like showing up and just like hopping out and Skittles spilling out all over the street in front of him. Those types of things can now happen at the college level. But I think that right now it's really easy. How do you get a hold of Marshawn Lynch? You call his agent, right? And so you get a hold of his agent. The agent says, yeah, this is the going rate. It's market because that agent has other players or works for an agency that represents a ton of people. And it's not shady when Skittles approaches somebody like Marshawn Lynch to do something that's a like funny stunt like that. That'd be fucking insane for anyone to do in the number one, the college realm right now, because it's just kind of the Wild West. But number two, it's really unclear whether or not they're still allowed or not allowed to have agents. And if they can have agents, how much of that has to do with purely the endorsement and merchandising stuff? Because would that be just a business manager and not an agent? You can't do anything related to sports or the transfer portal, or right, how much from boosters from other school can reach out and want to sponsor you because of your personal brand. Maybe they just like you because you're a good football player. You get into this really weird fucking world that has no precedent, no regulation, and it's an opportunity for schools like Texas to really come out and say, this is how we're going to get our players to maximize their brand value from a memorabilia, appearance fee, whatever, and like educate the team and not be directly involved in hooking up the boosters, but creating some mechanism where it is a lot less shystery and just like, it still feels like backroom deals that are legal now. And it
that's what we were talking about at lunch yesterday. We were like, doesn't this feel a little shady? Like, how are we going to pay these kids? But it's all above board now. It's just like a new world. We've been taught something so wrong for so long. And I think you're mentioning like Marshawn Lynch and the Skittles thing. I think what we as surly users, we're not going to be sponsoring Bijan Robinson, and doing a Skittles deal. I think the biggest thing is like, how's Alfred Collins getting taken care of? How's Keandre Coburn going to get taken care of? Like, I feel like that's the biggest area. Like, Michael Dell would probably, be jerking off his little wiener at the thought of Bijan Robinson, running through a fucking stack of Dell computers or some shit. But is he doing the same thing for Alfred Collins? Probably not. Who's, arguably just as valuable as a Bijan Robinson to the team. How is, Kelvontae Dixon getting taken care of? Those guys that aren't the flashy, the big names, the guys that you're not hearing on ESPN, how are those guys going to get taken care of? How's,
but I think this kind of, and this is what we're going to see when the free market shakes out is, nobody asked how tight end X on, the Miami Dolphins. Nobody asked how fucking good that guy's endorsements are compared to Tua, right? The whole thing is, the way that this should shake out is good players get paid for their name, image, and likeness. And then other players should benefit from their personal brand and being a player for someone's favorite team, right? And I think that's how some of these position group things could end up working is, like, some people maybe just like really are into offensive linemen, right? And then you have like your favorite school that you say, hey, the offensive linemen are like super cool, and I want to make sure that the offensive linemen always call out some restaurant and my food's good enough for the offensive lineman to want to eat there.
Yep.
Because I think it needs to be mutually beneficial. But I think you'll see this race to the bottom over the next couple of years where it really is going to turn into the best players get paid, and the best players get paid more at the programs with huge booster or huge alumni bases that can afford to pay for those. I don't think that NIL is going to turn into something that's just everybody makes a whole bunch of money in college athletics.
No, definitely not everybody.
Well, hang on. I do think you're not thinking big enough on a little bit of this, because I think just what you're saying is right. However, there are large schools, Texas included, that if they're doing it well, can create a scenario where it's not officially an endowment, but it's handled like an endowment for key positions. And as far as the rules go, you can't just generically assign money to a position. It's got to be assigned on a yearly basis or a semester basis to a guy on the team, specifically a guy, right? Now, the way you figure that out, the way you work through that is you're like, well, whoever the starting offensive guard is each year, whatever, insert name, they're getting this stack of money from our mechanism for distributing it. And these are the expectations they're going to have. There's 6 businesses that they're going to be involved with who have signed up and posted money into this thing on an ongoing basis. And they need to make an appearance fee in the off season once a month. That's announced by them on social media and the entity, whether that's a golf course or a restaurant or a car dealership or what have you. And then there's product, as well. And then there's an NFT component. But where you want to take it is there's enough money coming in that it's then invested, Sally, for the purposes of distribution over time, right, and grows, much like the Longhorn Foundation does and endows things actually for the program. And then what you wind up with is you can say, a coach could reasonably say to, hey, offensive guard, recruit X, there's nothing for you as a recruit, right? That's not what we do. That's not what we've ever done. However, guys who come to Texas and start at offensive guard over the last 5 years have averaged $33,000 a year in additional compensation, which is a decent salary out of college, right? It's decent money to go with everything else you're doing. And you have to work for it, but it's not unreasonable, right? It's social media. It's showing up somewhere. It's eating good food. And I think you can rinse and repeat that kind of concept, but you have to be organized to do it. And I think only a few schools could put it at a level where they could make that argument at almost every position. Ohio State, trust me on this. If I know anything about recruiting, it's that will start, some version of that will happen, however corrupt or non-corrupt it may be, at Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, LSU. Like they will all, A&M, they're all going to do that. And so there's no reason for us to sit out on it. It's all fine. We don't maybe they're using it as an above board way to just give people money as a bag game, but you don't have to we could still have the same amount of money that we're offering to people where it's actually ethically and morally and legally fine, well,
so I think for something like that, you would almost want the sponsorship. So you have sponsorship requirements, and right. So to qualify for some sponsorship opportunity, you need to have started X number of snaps in a game. For one of the.
It can't be performance based.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it can't be.
It can't be performance based. By the way, that's the problem with that. You just have to basically you're taking some chance.
Or name the starter on a depth chart, right? I don't know.
Yeah, you're picking a person.
I think the coolest thing is the thought of doing, even with us, we talk about crowdfunding, doing a Surly, Surly sponsors the tight end room, and there's 5 fucking guys, 5 tight ends every single year, and hey, here's your Surly endowment money, and it's everybody gets $5,000.
Or it could be that we say at Surly, we really like tight ends at Surly Horns, and we want something on the podcast that's
we love tight ends.
Yeah, it's called the tight end room or something. And they get on for an hour a week and just talk tight end shit. And people,
you could do some kind of AMA stuff. You have the podcast rolled into it. You have, happy hour appearances. you can make it like some fun shit. And yeah, hey, Surly, and then the coaches are able to sell that. Yeah, hey, have you heard the Surly the tight end fund that they do every year? And it's everybody gets 10 grand per
Hold
year, and
on.
you have to make a podcast appearance, you have to make a happy hour appearance, and then you log onto the website and you talk shit.
This is
And
funny.
like that's
Yeah.
something you can sell.
So this is a kind of a funny idea. Is what if because you can pay players now to offer, like, because it's part of their brand and they know how to be a tight end, right? We could have like a fat old guy tight end camp, like some weekend somewhere where we like pay them
That
to
sounds
come
great.
out to some ranch, drink beer with us, and like show us how to run tight end drills.
Yeah, that's and shit like that. That's what we need to be taking advantage of, because that's fun for the players too. Like, it's not just like some shit that the college kid wouldn't want to do. Like, obviously, 18-year-old Jatavian Sanders is not going to be drinking beer. Law enforcement individuals that are listening to this, but
Yeah, that's correct.
but if they're over 21, yeah, drink beer and throw a football, and that's something that they benefit from. It's something Surly benefits from. Even the podcast benefits from. Like,
Hey, it's above board, and you determine market.
Yep.
That's the other thing, which is the difference between a free market and what will happen with college affinities on this stuff. The key difference is, you're going to say, not Rick, just you, Universal U is going to say, look, guy showing up who's part of the team, eating at my place, that's worth $1,000 to me. And if random other guy shows up who's known around the city, shows up and wants to get compensated, you may only pay that guy $100 to tweet about it, right? But that's your choice, and that's you making the market as a business owner. There's nothing wrong with it. No one can come in and say you don't have a legitimate business, and your intent with the player wasn't legitimate as well. That's what people need to get their head around. Is like, it's fine. It has to be worth it to you as a business owner, whoever you are, or owners. But if that's the case, and you can legitimately show the work the player does, like they did show up, or they did tweet, or they did TikTok or Instagram, the regimented set of time, it's indisputable.
Yep.
Across the board, IRS, everything.
I would love to. So what I would love to do is pay certain players that we really like, and maybe we choose them before the game, maybe we choose them during the game, but essentially some mechanism where we could reach out to the members of the team and be like, hey, well, we don't like the typical press conference that happens. It doesn't have to be immediately after the game, but we have a really large community that wants to ask you questions about the game. And that's worth a lot to the community, right? And that has direct value for the site. It has a lot to do with our brand at Surly Horns. And then all it is from these guys is just talking about how they felt about
20 minutes.
certain plays, or
30 minutes.
How they felt about, the game in general or the strategy. And the idea here wouldn't be necessarily to put anybody's shit on blast or have something contrarian to the traditional media, but it's just it's another outlet that I think would drive traffic to the site and be beneficial for the players that don't get as much face time in the press conferences, because only certain players get asked questions. We could just be like, hey, we want to talk to like the left tackle because they had a fucking sick game.
Yeah. It's the tight end room. That's what I keep going back to. It's like, you pick a position group and it's like, hey, the tight end room sponsored by Surly Horns, and they do happy hours. They do Sunday night wrap ups or something like that, where it's like, hey, Sunday night.
Well, yeah. To build on your point and Rick's point, take it a step further and think about where the doldrums are for the site on a regular basis, right? You've got the spring and the summer of off season where players also have more time, where you can also have sessions with the guys like once a month or something where, yeah, you can do the AMA. You can also do, hey, who was the nastiest guy you dealt with last year on the field? Like those kind of things. And then, like, what do you make of the schedule? Looking in reverse so that you're not getting them in trouble for shit talking someone looking forward. But, like, what did you make of the schedule last year going into the season? And what did you make of it throughout the season versus the competition? Like, at what point were you or were you not watching the college football playoff? How often do you watch other teams play? Just all that shit that we have no idea about as fans, that would be fun, that, is something interesting in the off season would get caught up in sort of the churn of the season in terms of the minute by minute new information is always popping out on a daily
Yep. Plus,
basis.
just updates on spring practice, updates on
Yeah.
recoveries and injuries and that sort of thing. It's the thought of sponsoring kind of a certain group that can be involved and active in the community, get paid for what they're doing, get paid for their work, and then have that work like be shown like, hey, look, these guys are having fun. To recruits, like, hey, star tight end recruit, look what these guys do with the Surly Horns guys. They go on a podcast once a week. They take turns or something. They go do a football camp. They go at a happy hour. They barbecue or whatever. Whatever it all entails. And they make X amount of money, and that's something that the coaching staff at that point can even can use. And it's kind of crazy that
Right.
a lot of people don't think like they're thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait for Bijan Robinson to get $1 million fucking NIL deal. Where it's like, hey, what we could do is like, hey guys, let's fucking here's all you have to do is donate $20 a month. And you get a fucking bumper sticker or like a car sticker that says Surly Horns tight end room fundraiser or some shit. And you get to be involved, you get to be active, and it only costs you $20 a month, and it helps the program, it helps y'all, we get more engagement, everybody has more fun. And all it costs you is $20 a month. I mean, fuck, that's easy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Well, and think about just layer that into, by the way, happy hours where or a lunch, since you get rid of the booze part of it, and just host a lunch in Austin where a guy comes as a guest and talks to folks, one Tuesday out of the month when it's not a schedule conflict with whatever's going on with the program or his classes. And then in that kind of context, you can ask real questions,
Yep.
right? Like stuff that they wouldn't say in public, stuff you wouldn't say in public, where one on 30 sort of premise, people kind of pay to attend, and then that guy gets paid for showing up. It's another way in which this stuff can and will work. I'm not saying Surly should do that, but that's another way in which these guys are going to ultimately be able to rely on that kind of value from different programs. And I think, it's just, that's one part of how ultimately if that's just one part of how they're ultimately compensated, you can get to, like I said, a layer cake of payout for work, for output, that even the backup guard could say, well, shit, man, I'm making money comparable to what a guy graduating college is making this year while I'm getting to, go to school and have fun and play football.
Yep.
Like this is a pretty good deal that I couldn't be getting at SMU or Oklahoma State or Colorado. Right. And so that dims down some of the value in transferring. If you have a freshman or sophomore who's chafing to get game time action, but if suddenly it's like, well, and we don't want them to leave,
Yep.
the offset of like, well, shit, if I leave here for that, my $40,000 basically in salary is going to go to $5,000.
Yep.
I'll suck it up for another year and see if I can't get starting.
Yeah,
line.
or the opposite of
that's ultimately some part of the value for the big.
Or even like Brennan Eagles leaving his junior year, or it's like, hey, I want to go jump and make undrafted free agent money right now, or I could stay one more year and I'm still making 40, 50 grand at Texas, and see if I might be able to slide into the 5th, 6th round. It's more incentive to not just come here, but to stay here as well.
That's right. That's the fringe guys, and I don't mean fringe talent. I just mean guys who aren't the Texas quarterback or the Alabama running back or the marquee positions and players are always going to be able to reasonably say when they sign on the dotted line for their LOI, they can expect $250,000 to $1 million. I mean, Arch Manning, when he comes, whatever school he goes to, is going to be making
Texas,
over $1 million a year.
So we already called that recruitment done.
We already called it Texas. Okay. But the guys who are going to be third or fourth round picks who, I'm going to sit out, I'm going to leave early. I mean, does $70,000 or $80,000 for one more year kind of, and a chance to move up the draft ranks change their mind? Not to all of them, but I think we'd be crazy to say it wouldn't help. Same thing in baseball and basketball, specifically baseball, where it's like, well, if I get drafted in the 11th round, I'm going to get a $30,000 signing bonus and then make $18,000 a year. And I'm a junior. Do I really want to come back for one more year? Well, if you're getting $30,000 to not do that and ride buses and play at Texas and continue to get all the ancillary benefits we know baseball players tend to get, then it's suddenly you've changed the way these guys think about the programs that they're at in the later stages of their career versus the minor leagues. It may not make as much difference in basketball, but I think in certain roles in football and definitely in baseball for the non-first through third round guys, I think if you do it right, eventually you can be there with some of these programs.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, and I think that it is also going to bring more value to people who are the MVP of a bowl game, any bowl game, not just the big bowl games, right? So getting MVP of a big bowl game or a sponsor, right? You can get paid because you can now say credential wise you're the MVP of the Independence Bowl, right, or the Texas Bowl or whatever, and
we don't play in those
able,
anymore. Yeah, no more Alamo Bowls.
Shit. That's our permanent resident. People say Omaha's our home away from home.
San Antonio.
I'm pretty sure it's San Antonio in late December.
Oh,
Sounds about right.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's switch topics a little bit away from NIL. Although NIL will have an effect on recruiting, not directly. These will be all indirect effects that draw people and talent to specific universities, hopefully Texas more than other people. But like you said, Oregon, what did this do for Oregon whenever they got a recruit that wasn't even considering Oregon a week before? Then this NFT shit goes down. They move up their recruiting commitment date to July 4th, and then whammo blammo, we've got Banks going to fucking Oregon.
One thing you have to consider is that Oregon has historically been corrupt over the last 16 years. The Lake C. Strunk thing forward, there's literally proof of it. And, to think that their approach to things from that perspective hasn't changed would be absurd. Now, the bag game's probably, in my beliefs, fundamentally going to change or dissipate when NIL becomes relatively mature for most programs, frankly, because the incentives to cheat for the programs are going to be weakened. The coaches don't like doing that shit anyway. So if they've got an excuse not to, it doesn't matter how bad an uncle wants to get $40,000 for a signature. It's going to be harder to find. So Oregon will shift from that, but that's still a product in this recruiting cycle and probably the next recruiting cycle. But what they did was basically, they sold the NIL piece to recruits effectively, and theirs looked different than others. And then out of the blue, draw your own conclusions. A couple of guys have suddenly decided they're going to Oregon above all other choices. I talked to someone who basically said, look, Peroni's full of shit. It didn't come down to Oregon and A&M. It came down to Texas, and then what the fuck was Oregon getting this guy? And that's how it went down. So take for what that you will. I'm not making any excuses. I'm not getting explicit other than to say Peroni's a plagiaristic douchebag who's full of shit. And I've said that plenty of times. He's stolen directly from me over the years. And, I'm not even vaguely a paid reporter. So fuck that guy. But yeah, he was wrong on the A&M part of it.
So that does take us to one line item in our Surly Horns podcast agenda, that the 995ers are all fuckhead bitches.
Fuckhead bitches. Fuck you. I'm so mad. We talked about this yesterday at lunch, and I'm still fucking mad. I put a big post on the 995er thread, I think, or one of those recruiting threads, and especially inside Texas, I like Jerry Hamilton. I'm sure CTJ has things to say about the rest of the guys. I know he likes Jerry, but they changed their fucking tone. It pisses me off. Because they were sunshine pumping like nobody's fucking business, and now they're pushing this narrative: Sark can't close, basically trying to make themselves look better for their wrong predictions instead of just owning some of their shit. I'm just gonna pass close to jumping the mic here and just let him go tangent.
Well, the problem is, for me, I know and like some of the people involved in the recruiting landscape and consider them friends. I will say, when you look at IT in particular, I think it's not really any new development. I mean, when things are going well, Nayland is it's one guy to me. Nayland's witty and he's all knowing, and he looks like he's got his shit together, and it's great. When something goes sideways, he gets condescending and prickly. And really, there's no reason for it. This isn't some guy who's been a champion of the people or has made a fortune or anything else that merits condescension amongst the fan base, who are paying him money every month and who are probably in many ways a lot more successful than he is on different fronts. So to me, he's been behaving in that way for years. It's kind of the way I think about like Nebraska fans, where it's like when they were winning, oh my God, Nebraska fans, they're the best fans. They're so amazing, such wonderful people. Now they've been, in a worse steaming shit heap than what Texas has been over the last decade plus. Their fans are as unremarkable as every other fan base. They get persnickety, snarky. They turn against their own regime. If you deal with them offline, they've got nothing but negative things to say about Texas, nothing but negative things to say about Nebraska. Won't admit any folly at all in moving to the Big Ten when it's obvious they have no rivals, no allies, nothing. It's just about money and nothingness, and they're just going to drift forever in the abyss. But back to the analogy, like that's when everything's going well, it's easy to look like a genius, a soothsayer, and a good guy. It's when things go sideways where it sort of reveals who you are. And every time there's a recruit that doesn't go the way they thought it was going to go, he knew beforehand, you're stupid. They gave you hints. As we've told you all along, you should have known better, right? It's over, rinse and repeat. So, and that's the issue there. The issue with rivals.
Jeff Ketchum. Let me read more Jeff Ketchum tweets real quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's just, he doesn't leave his gravy-crusted concrete recliner, to watch a game.
His mobility scooter doesn't get outside of Austin. That's for fucking sure.
Right. I don't think he's seen a game in over a decade because most places aren't accessible via Rascal.
At least we have those bleacher seats. I hope they don't ever get rid of those. He'll never be able to sit in an actual folding chair.
Yeah, at 24/7. Look, I mean, Roach works hard
at eating,
and I don't know the other guy very well, Harris, but I don't think they're. Washing machines work hard is the problem. Like you can't get a read on jack shit coming from those guys. They take less chances than the United States Treasury. Like there's just nothing going on until after something's declared, they show up with an opinion. So I think IT right now is doing better work than the rest of them. I think what they're going to do with On3 is a big deal. But yeah, the past 2 weeks have not been good for them because some of the shit that's gone down has made them look wrong. And I mean, I'll say people aren't reasonable on this stuff. It's like recruiting, is hard shit to predict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recruiting is hard.
And so
winning's a lot more controllable. He's got a lot more control over winning. You have a lot less control over recruits.
18-year-old kids.
Well, that's the thing, especially if you're not cheating and other programs are cheating. Because, I mean, there's multiple instances over recent years, including what's happening in this cycle, where they did think they had somebody, whether it was Herman or Mac Brown or what we're dealing with now with Sarkisian, where they thought they had a guy, and magically he winds up going to LSU, A&M, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. Georgia. We had. I'm not going to name names on this, but everybody who pays attention and gives a shit will know. And we had a guy who stayed for a week.
Keely Ringo. I'm going to name names. I mean, we could talk about DeMarvian Leal. We could talk about Damani Richardson. Yeah. We could talk about Demon Demas. We could talk about a lot of folks, and I have no problem calling those names out.
But if Georgia's going to pay Mama $200,000, what do? You move on.
Wild.
Well, man. I think that so there's a lot of changes happening all at once, right? So the first of which is predates NIL, is the one free transfer thing. So schools can't block you now from transferring within your conference and playing that next season, right? You can just fucking say, I don't like this school. I don't like this shit. I don't like what's going on here. I don't like my playing time. And you can just chunk the deuces and go play somewhere else. That's how it was looking. Now you combine that with NIL, and it's like, what does signing a recruit even do besides, number one, either getting the privilege to burn their red shirt, right? Or number two, getting them in the program, and if they don't get starting time immediately, they just bail. And so I think you're going to start seeing people get a lot more gun shy about some of this dark money, because it's actually more effective to reward people who are actually good at football once they do commit than it
Right.
is to take a flyer on a guy who's going to get one free transfer.
Yep.
And if he is any good, go to Texas or
That's
somewhere
a good
else
point.
that has way deeper pockets for the bigger, better marquee players.
Well, I will say one other thing. It could just double the bag game instead. So now, a player goes to Georgia, gets $200K just to sign with them. And then, hey, one free transfer goes to Texas, or not Texas, because we're not paying anybody another $200,000. But, hey, go to, Georgia. And hey, here's another 200K. So it's moving that bag game to the transfer portal more than anything. And that's where you do hope that NIL is kind of the great equalizer at that point, where it's just like, hey, we got to use this. We have these things to provide you. Instead of, hey, here's 40K under the table. Hey, here's Red McCombs. He's got an advertising, a truck advertisement for you. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's right. I'll say this. I do think, people may not like hearing this, but one organization you can look at who's already taken the approach Rick talked about and doing it with great success is Oklahoma. So Riley and crew are recruiting, of course, and they're going after big game, but they're also leaving significant space open on a yearly basis, it looks like, right? And I think this will continue to evolve, for going and getting guys in the portal who've already proven that they can play at the collegiate level and have their shit together, who don't want to spend 2 more years at UAB or Colorado State because they can actually play in a P5 program and start. And that's a number better spend on your 25 than the fringe guy from Edmond, Oklahoma, who may or may not turn into a left tackle, or he may just be a long, slow guy at the back of your roster for forever, right? So I think they're doing it well. I think actually Sarkisian and crew did a pretty good job of it too. Obviously, Baird's flipped it on its head in basketball, but I think the transfer aspects of it are going to be pretty important for certain programs who are then going to sort of dim down some of their approach on the recruiting end. I think they'll keep going after the 4 and 5 stars, but rather than spend your last 5 or 8 scholarships on, trying to discover a diamond in the rough, you just go and get a guy who's already proven himself to be shiny for one of these non-P5 organizations, who's a starter and an all-conference player in the Mountain West or the WAC or Sun Belt or whatever, right? I think that's going to crush those schools.
Oh, for sure.
Well, and the culture of the portal is going to change a lot as well, because number one, you can't just go and approach random athletes. They have to go into the portal before you can just like go and hit them up as a staff. But I think with this free transfer thing, people are just going to, like, every season, if you haven't burned your one free transfer, you're basically a free agent. Yeah. Right? You can test the waters of the transfer portal with absolutely no penalties.
Yep. I mean, hell.
Hey, the other thing, well, the other cool thing about that, by the way, if you're allotting, not like Jake Spavital and allotting,
that was so good.
Your whole scholarship allotment
0
to
high school recruits.
Yeah, but if you're allotting 5 to 10 sort of on a yearly basis for guys who can play, the other thing is, when they get to your school, guess what? They can't then go somewhere else again with the same impunity. They have to suffer through a second transfer, meaning they'd sit out a year and they're another year older. So it really is kind of a preferred.
All the old transfer rules apply, right? Where you could block them in, block in conference transfer.
Yep. So that part, no one's really talking about, but may make it even more valuable on those scholarships that you're allotting than the risk you're taking with new recruit who comes in. Like, let's face it, I don't know how close. I know you probably know this RGB3, but Rick, I don't know if you've seen this in the threads, but one, I'm not going to go there in terms of like running them down as a UT guy, but a big time guy who's on campus now is already showing signs of like, he ain't going to make it. Like he's not going to stick around for the hard ass shit that he's facing. That wasn't what he was expecting. And so all that effort and energy from two different regimes going into signing the guy. And now if he's not playing and getting what he wants this year, who knows what that means for 2022 and beyond? And if that guy's a 5-star, is that more valuable than finding the guy at, call it Louisiana after this year, who is a starting tight end, who catches 45 passes and 6 touchdowns, but wants to play for somebody bigger? I'd rather have that guy in 2022 than the whiner who's like complaining that he needs it his way. And I think a lot of programs are going to start seeing things like that happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can even point at what's the guy? New Mexico State, Devin Richardson. And now you're hearing all these big things about him. It's like, yeah, well, he was probably New Mexico State's best fucking player, and now he's a depth piece at Texas for the most part. But he has 3 years of eligibility. He showed that he can fucking play already, and now he still has 3 years of eligibility. It's like, well, do I want this guy that's a complete unknown for 4 years, or this guy that's a proven player for 3? I mean, it makes total sense.
Right.
Well, if it's Jaden Blue, that may become
Jaden Blue is more than an unknown. We don't even know if that guy's going to play his senior year yet.
He's definitely.
I bet he does.
I'm sure I'm sure the staff told him, like, hey, buddy, just fucking either make up with your coaches or find somewhere else to play. Like, you're playing fucking football. Because they even called out quitters before. Like, hey, if you opt out of a bowl game, you're a fucking quitter. This guy opted out of his entire fucking senior season. There's no way that the staff's going to be cool with that.
Yeah, I think he's the next Jake Smith if he shows up. Just sort of opts out of, committing fully even after you're on campus.
Speaking of Jake Smith, for really shocking developments in Jake Smith's football career.
The easiest thing to call
he
ever.
is in the University of Texas Southern California branch.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hopefully he moves to safety and Todd Orlando has him blitzing on 3rd and 17. That's my only hope.
I find that whole thing baffling, man, because if like Texas was Texas in the 2000s, and in a program like USC, we were picking up guys who are transferring en masse, that I could make sense of that in some form. But it's not like we've been just covering the program's been covering itself in glory over the past few years. So these guys like all going to follow coaches who frankly failed here, other than Carrington. I'm not saying Carrington failed, but the rest of the staff over there, like it. Why would you want them? And if I'm a player who has choices, why would I want to go there and expect different results?
Yep.
I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. It even I guess it must be Carrington that's, Pied Piper leading them that way. Cause like what benefit is Keontae Ingram going to USC? Like what's the benefit there? I mean, obviously he's going to take a back shot,
that he can still play.
Bijan, but
they were definitely. He knew that he wasn't going to play next season.
I figured he was going to end up like SMU or something like that. Just USC, I don't know. You're going to be in a timeshare there too. It's not like they're not, recruiting over you. I don't know. I don't get the whole USC thing. I think Helton's fired this year. I mean, everybody's been saying it for the past like 4 or 5 fucking years at this point, but I think Helton's. Time's got to be.
See, I don't think he's going to get the axe. I think actually, this is going to be another season where he's 9-3 or 8-4 the regular season, and is that enough? Because the USC alumni base and the administration at this point, I don't know. I mean, the alumni are different. Excuse me. So the leadership at USC at this point, sort of Texas leadership in the late 70s, were like they'd prefer to de-emphasize a focus on sports in some ways, because it's been scandal-laden or underperforming or what have you, and they want to be viewed as an academics first kind of place, and they have the whole molestation thing that was going on that they're settling and having to pay a shit ton of money around. So every year people are like, well, this is the year Clay Helton's going to get 86. And every year it's like he does just enough to sort of drift by off of inertia. There's not enough momentum in another direction to send him out the door. And who's your candidate?
Right.
Like Urban Meyer's at Jacksonville. It's like, who's the whiz-bang guy who's going to come in and save the program now that virtual sure thing is gone? So it'll be interesting.
Yep, for sure.
I can't remember what their schedule looks like.
I think the Pac-12 honestly, I don't know how Oregon got these recruits, because The Pac-12 fucking sucks. Like,
Sucks.
they are not at all competitive. They
Even with
are
the Arizona
terrible.
State thing coming
And
out now, like everything. I mean, Arizona State was like Washington's meh. Washington State's nothing anymore. Stanford sucks.
Stanford's not good anymore. Yeah, like
Cal sucks.
Well, look,
it's
and
rough.
Cristobal, by the way, Cristobal is a coaching buffoon. He didn't blow. He didn't blow anyone away at FIU or FAU, but I'm pretty sure it's FIU.
Yep.
He was fine as an assistant at Alabama, but you're at Alabama, so how much credit do you deserve? It's the same problem I have with Sarkisian. And then at Oregon, he's had numerous blunders. Like he frankly just straight up lost the game to Stanford 2 years ago that they should have won. He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They were 4-3 last year and stumbled into the Pac-12 title game because of Corona with Washington, and then they get blown out in the Fiesta. They were not competitive. I don't know how big of a blow.
But the Pac-12, none of the Pac-12 teams are competitive with. They're hardly even a Power 5 conference, right? I mean, their teams are bad. Their teams are just bad.
I expect them to get blown out by Ohio State this early in the season.
Well, what's crazy too,
and then they'll go 10-2 in the shitty Pac-12.
Yeah, they're going to whoop up on Arizona and they're going to whoop up on Stanford, and everybody's going to pat them on the back, and they go to the fucking Rolls Bowl. But so like even Cristobal, like I thought Justin Herbert was going to be a huge bust because I thought he was shitty at Oregon, and it turns out he's not shitty. Cristobal and Oregon are fucking shitty. He's a great quarterback. He looked fucking fantastic with the Chargers with Anthony fucking Lynn as his head coach. Like, what could this guy have done at a school with someone competent? Like, holy shit!
You have them on each coast, right? You have Kirby Smart and Mario Cristobal, who look like sort of earlier, maybe weaker versions of Mac Brown, where it's like recruit lights out for one reason or another. And then win a bunch of games because you're out talenting guys. At least you can at least do that, which Herman couldn't figure that part out. So to their credit, they're doing some of that. But then when it comes down to anybody you go up against who's at your level of coaching acumen and staff acumen, you're beat.
Yep.
And people say, well, Georgia went to the national title game doing that. I'd like that kind of coaching stupidity. And fair point, but like, I've seen plenty of blunders from Smart, and he's lost guys from that staff and gotten weaker as a byproduct, especially like an offensive coordinator. Yep. So we'll see. But yeah, I think the Pac-12, like you guys, blows. And I don't think this year's going to be any different.
So I think there's something important in here because related to recruiting, there is a lot of doom and gloom, from both inside Texas on our board. Everybody's all pissed off. The thread was on fire, added 20 pages a day before the Banks commit. Everybody was in anticipation, just talking Brooks. Whatever bullshit, like the Urban Meyer or bust thread. And then, obviously, commits to Oregon, and we miss, and the thread title changes are hilarious. But how does Texas get back on track? Right. And I really think that it has to do with there's two parts, I think, to the recruiting part. There's how good does it sound to me whenever you come and talk to me and my family and, pitch the program. And I think there are some guys that is good enough for. And then you can get these verbals from that. But then I think another component, and this is, why National Signing Day, even early National Signing Day, is after basically the regular season is over, is these recruits want to see the results on the field that these coaches are telling them in their living rooms. And if they see something on the field that isn't what they were pitched, those people, especially if they're just verbals, they're just going to open their recruitment back up. Now, if they see reinforcement, and so this is where it's kind of a double-edged sword with guys like Clemson and Alabama, those guys will keep all their verbals if they destroy everyone and go to the national championship. Then it kind of solidifies everything. Somebody like Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher, right? I don't think that getting snubbed for the college football playoff or anything like that and still being the third best team in the SEC West, that's not really solidifying anything. For those recruits, especially if somebody like Texas or somebody else that was really hot and heavy in that recruiting cycle does make the playoff over them. I think you'll start to see a lot more of these shifts back to Texas if this new coaching staff with Sark can take care of business during the season. If they're like blowing people out, I think that some of these verbals that went somewhere else, they have a chance at actually coming back. The problem,
yeah, you're right. You're right. It's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, if they win, I don't think they need to go to the playoffs this year. But I think they need to win against Louisiana and Arkansas. Yeah. Like if they lose either one of those games, that's an early momentum stumble that they can't really. Never mind the other programs. Yeah. Specific to Texas, that'll be harmful. Now, if they went on a streak after that and won the conference, maybe not a big deal. But I think if they win those two, it buys them some credibility to actually lose to one of or both. None of us want this. One of or both Iowa State or OU, or even step on your dick against TCU and then come back and beat OU. If you've won those first two games, I think it creates some room. The other thing I heard from one of my buddies is repeatedly this offseason when people have been out talking to high school coaches. One of the things that the refrain they hear back is, I can't remember the last time I had one of my guys come in after a weekend of college football watching and tell me, man, that Texas offense really has me excited. Yeah. Like I really liked what I saw on that from them defensively.
Quarterback power.
Either side of the ball, specifically offense. So if there's some of that, even if they're somewhat mediocre, that may offset some of it at the specialty positions specifically. I think if they lose, then if they lose to Arkansas and Louisiana, I think it gets ugly quickly. But my view, I don't expect that to happen. I think everybody's overrating Louisiana because they returned a bunch of guys nobody wanted. And they weren't exactly just running through their schedule. It looks like Tom Herman coached that team in the Sun Belt last year. They basically won all their games with like one score. And the Iowa State thing was a fluke. And then Arkansas, it's a tough place to play. I'm going to be there for it.
Yeah, we are.
But I don't expect them to become amazing overnight. They may get up for the game, but Texas has more talent. And I think the staff, I have a lot of faith in the background of the staff from a coaching perspective. So, I'll be disappointed fundamentally if either one of those games are lost. I don't think there's any room for a honeymoon. I don't have a honeymoon period for Sarkisian. He's 7-win Steve until he's not, so he better win those two games.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think honestly,
he's got to. Yeah, it's a must.
My biggest what lets me sleep at night is not Steve Sarkisian. It's Kwiatkowski. I think that guy knows how to run a fucking defense, and there's enough talent on defense that all Sarkisian has to do is put up 35. If you put up 35, it's a win. That I feel good enough, even in this conference, that PK will be able to contain offenses well enough. Especially, you always see the new first-year coordinator bump. Orlando's first year, everybody was sucking the guy's dick, and then we fall off a cliff. Even Chris Ash last year, it's like, well, yeah, he figured out just don't blitz on 3rd and 17. It's not fucking hard. So
he just showed up and
he just fucking showed up and he had all this talent. Well, now we still have all of that talent. We really didn't lose anybody besides bitch ass Caden Stearns and we did lose. Yeah, we did lose Osai. You're right. We lost Osai, but
no,
Alfred Collins.
I think they're going to be
Coburn.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be better than the offense, and I think people need to be expecting that now. Is the defense should be? I think it should be number one in the Big 12. You can make an argument for Oklahoma or Iowa State, but I think they could easily be number one in the Big 12 in defense this year, and that's what gives me hope. Not if Sark can just call the plays, they're going to be early bumps with a new quarterback, but all you got to do, you put up 28 to 35 points, and we are looking good. That's all you got to do.
Well, you're right, but I'll tell you, that's where having a stud running back, some experience in a couple key spots in the offensive line, although there's other spots that are holes, but at least we got some guys in late last year to show something. And then, if they play Wiley, I think he can be a terrific tight end. And then I think everybody's underrating wide receiver. I think we have better talent there than people are giving it credit for, especially if Worthy.
He looks like a beast.
Even vaguely lives up to the hype. Which, by the way, one thing on that I meant to say is like a lot of people and me included, have lived with this expectation. Freshman shows up, and you want them to just light everything on fire and roll through and just kick ass. And then they don't play for like the first 6 games, but a player or two here or there. I was talking to a guy who said, look, one of the key things that places like Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson actually do differently than other places, and speaks to sort of their results too, is when they're bringing some of these guys in like a Worthy, they don't tell them they're going to start immediately. They tell them you're going to have some key plays. We're going to set you up to have some key plays early on in the season as you come along and develop. But you don't have to come in and dominate, and you shouldn't expect to come in and dominate from day one. So it's rare that they actually have a guy doing that in the first 3 to 5 games in their freshman year. But to me, I'm interested in seeing, do they handle sort of Worthy that way? And are we going to see him get some key plays and some shots that he can then differentiate on? And I think Dixon's fast. I think if O'Meyer's healthy, I'm willing to at least wait and see. I think he was overhyped by the same people we were criticizing earlier regarding, feeding the beast in the offseason. But we'll see. But I don't think wide receivers, as sort of moribund as different people on Surly tend to think.
Agreed. Yeah.
But the linebacker room is pretty thin.
Yeah, at least they filled that out with some transfers.
I agree. We got some depth at wide receiver, but the linebacker room is question mark.
Yeah, well, I want to see that guy from New Mexico State. Sadly, like him and the other transfer.
Yeah, Ben Davis, Ray Thornton. I think people are, I think the depth concerns in general to me are pretty overblown because you have the portal is right there. Obviously the portal, like I guess deadlines kind of passed for that free transfer, but it's I think you can survive a year with the current depth, and then see where you need to pick and choose at that point. Now it's not like, oh man, we got to recruit a bunch of inside linebackers because we have a big gap there. Now it's like, well, we'll just go into the fucking portal and still Utah State's best fucking guy. It leaves the world open to fill positions as you need them. Even running back, like I always hear, like, obviously we did great with, hopefully Blue makes it in, and then we have Jamarian Miller, where it's like, great, we have these 2 backs, but worst case, and Eric Gray hit the fucking portal this year, who was the number 1 transfer, people are saying. And it's like, obviously he didn't choose Texas, he's go to fucking Oklahoma, but still, it's like that guy hit the portal. So it's like you can recruit a guy behind Bijan if you need to. Keelan Robinson. We just got Keelan Robinson from Alabama, who looks like a stud. So, yeah, it's the Wild West, man, and you can just fill it how you need to, especially if you do have a brand like Texas. And if it goes back to the NIL shit, and if we're doing what we should be with the NIL, it just makes the transfer portal look even better. Hey, you're making not even $1,000 at fucking Utah State as the best player in your team. Come to Texas. Surly Horns is sponsoring the linebacker room, and here's 40 fucking grand. Why wouldn't they enter the portal?
We should warn any non P5 program fans who want to listen to this podcast that they can't if they have any heart issues or are pregnant.
So we're coming up on talking about this for quite some time. So we've got to save some content for future podcasts.
Yeah, we'd be on here for 5 hours.
Let's move into one of everybody's favorite segments, the Aggie Fact of the Week.
Aggie Fact of the Week, go cop Kyle Umlang's book, 101 Aggie Facts, Things Every Longhorn Should Know. Today we got Aggie Fact number 34. At their current win rate, Texas is due to arrive at the 1,000 win mark sometime during the 2029 season. Texas A&M will arrive in 2051. So we're looking at a good 22 seasons after Texas reaches 1,000 win mark. And that's assuming that once Jimbo leaves for Baton Rouge after Orgeron gets canned and they hire some slapdick, probably Jake Spavital would be a great fit back in Aggie land. So that's assuming they hire somebody competent that can even keep up with their current win rate. So
nice.
Just always deeper and deeper into pathetic and despair for a fan base.
It's the best.
At least at least they got Jimbo, right?
Yep. Yeah. Don't worry. Got Jimbo.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Got
Don't
Jimbo.
care. Got Jimbo. All right. We got to get into everybody's favorite segment. Do we have theme music yet? Like I said, we need like tuba. Doom, da, doom, da, doom, da, 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 something. We need the Fat Boy Minute music. So I don't know, CTJ, do you listen to the Surly Horns podcast? Are you familiar with the Fat Boy Minute?
I have no awareness whatsoever.
So the Fat Boy Minute is we just talk about food because we're fat and we're fat boys, and we like to talk for at least a minute about some food question of the week. And today's question is, Rick, I'll let you hit us with it.
Okay, we've got to do favorite slice, not a whole pie, right? Your favorite slice you've ever had, like where it was, what it was, and then the second is if you are going to order a pie, what is it, right? That you can get regularly, like not something that's crazy special. That's what the first slice is supposed to be about.
Sweet.
I'll give you one. That my favorite slice I've ever had is Giordano's pie style in Chicago. There's several Giordano's up there, with pepperoni, black olives, and jalapenos, and followed closely by anything I've ever had from Lou Malnati's.
Oh yeah. Same
place, Chicago. So I'm a Chicago guy on the pizzas.
That's good. Yeah, I'm opposite. I'm the New York guy. So I love a New York style pizza. John's a Bleecker. That was my favorite slice I've ever had in my entire life. John's. Yeah.
What was on it?
Just straight cheese. So I like a good, buffalo chicken, pepperoni guy. I'm normally a pepperoni guy. Whenever you go to John's and Bleecker, they always tell you just get straight cheese. Like that's all you need. It's going to be the best slice you'll ever eat. And it sure as fuck was. Like the sauce was perfect. Cheese was perfect. Cooked perfectly. Yeah, it was fantastic. And then if I'm doing a whole pie, we have this place is called Paul's Pizza Shop in Spring. And it is fantastic. I get the buffalo chicken pizza, and they have this, they call it the Romano crust, and it's basically just like salty oregano around the crust. I don't know how to explain it. If you're near the Spring area, Paul's Pizza Shop, awesome. Also shout out Brothers Pizza. I think they have quite a few of those, but also a really good New York style slice.
All right. So my favorite slice that I think I've ever had is from a place in Crested Butte called the Secret Stash. And there's a pizza on their menu called the Mac Daddy. And it is a Big Mac pizza. So they shave ribeye like really thin and put it on the pizza and bake it with Thousand Island dressing as like the base, with cheese and everything else, with like cheddar and American cheese. And then after it comes out of the oven, they top it with lettuce and pickles and a little bit more like Thousand Island dressing. And that sounds amazing.
That sounds really good.
Slice of pizza.
That sounds awesome.
And then a pie that I can just like order. I'm in the Austin area, so there's this place in Bee Cave called Za Pizza, just ZZA, and they do a lot of really interesting pizzas, but they have this one that is like a Thai food pizza that has like peanut sauce on it and stuff.
That sounds
let me
awesome.
see what it's actually called.
That sounds disturbing.
It's called the tie dye. It's spicy peanut sauce, mozzarella, sweet pepper, chicken, peanuts, and sesame mix. And then it has like cilantro on it. It's fucking incredible.
Sounds weird as fuck.
Well, my pie I go to here in Houston is like if I have the time, Star Pizza.
Oh yeah.
And they have a Chicago style Starburst, and I'll just add jalapenos to it. That shit's delicious. It's not Chicago level, but it's damn good.
I like Pink's Pizza if we're talking about Houston pizza.
Oh,
Pink's is fantastic.
I love Pink's.
Yeah, they have a bacon pizza. Like bacon is in the sauce. What is it called?
I've never tried that. My
My
kids require Pink's once a week from us. I'm less of a fan, but let me hear about this bacon thing.
Oh God, I can't even find it. Maybe it was like a limited time thing, but yeah, it had like bacon in the sauce, bacon in the crust, bacon on the like in the cheese, like mixed with it. It was so good. And
Sounds ridiculous.
if we're talking about Austin pizza,
Oh,
I
Pint House
love
is
Pint
great, but I
House
like their
pizza.
beer better
Pint
than I like
House
their
is
pizza.
fantastic, and of course, home
Electric
slice.
Jellyfish is fucking crack. It's so good.
Oh, what's the beer that Electric Jellyfish, right?
If you're into juicy
So good.
IPAs,
It's very
it's
good.
insane.
It is
It's
very
the
good
best
beer.
one. So the okay, shitty pizza chain pizza. We have to get onto this because all of us went either high end or right, somewhere
Fancy
where
pizza.
if you're traveling, you can go get a slice. What about like out of the chains that are all over America? What's your favorite chain? Right, so we're talking about like the Pizza Huts, Domino's, Papa John's of the world.
I think Domino's changed their crust up recently, and they got like a garlicky type crust. I don't order that because if I'm ordering pizza, I'm going to get it from one of these like fancy places. I'll tell you this: if I show up somewhere and like say it's some like event, and hey, we order pizza and it's Papa John's, and they don't have the garlic butter, I'm going to leave. Fuck them. I'm gonna leave. That's the only redeeming quality of that entire pizza. Otherwise, it is fucking cardboard with like melted cheese sticks
Wait,
on top.
you just bragged on Domino's and then accused Papa John's of cardboard?
They're all garbage. They're all garbage.
I
Pizza.
feel like I'm eating the box when I get Domino's.
Yeah, pizza's not terrible, I guess, but
I'm the opposite, man. Papa John's, give me the garlic butter, but just if I can
Garlic
put the
butter.
stuff I like on it, it's fine.
I will shout out the Papadilla. So yeah,
I'm gonna blow everybody's mind. My fucking favorite is Little Caesars. Little Caesars is insane.
hot and
It's
ready.
so
bitch.
good.
It's hot and ready. Hey, is it good?
It's hot
No,
and
but
ready.
it's
They
hot
have fucking
and
pretzel
it's ready.
crust. They have
Yeah.
pretzel crust. It's fucking insane. That shit is so good.
I hadn't had it in years until last week. Our babysitter or nanny or whatever ordered it for the kids, and I came in before I was going to go out with my wife, and it was sitting there, and I was like, I didn't even know where it was from, and I tasted it. I was like, this is really good. Where's it from? She said, oh, Little Caesars, and I was embarrassed.
And it's $5. That's what's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's
anybody can
$7
be
if you
hungry.
get like the pizza one or like the stuffed crust or whatever. But
and then
still,
it's like $1 for crazy bread. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Little Caesars is great. Yeah, Little Caesars. I mean, for what it is,
like
you
just
know what
open
you're
another
eating.
door. You have to open that door. Now we have to talk about
and that's fine.
Either frozen or
it's
places
ready.
that's
the
that
important
you pick up like not the
frozen
like Sam's Club pizza or Costco, right? They have the ready to bakes.
Costco.
No. But
Costco
what's your favorite frozen or ready to bake pizza? It is Costco.
Costco. So not only the pizza, so it's different. So I'm a loyal Costco member for years, and so they're frozen, like the ones that you buy, like you check out or whatever. Their cheese is trash. My kids eat that. Their pepperoni frozen. They come in like a fucking 4-pack because it's Costco. Fantastic. It's so good. It is literally just covered in pepperonis. It is very good. And then for a little treat, if I'm shopping by myself, I'll just swing by the food court and you can either get the $1.50 hot dog and drink combo or a slice of pizza. And their slice of pizza, it's not bad. It's edible.
It's disturbing to think that RGB3 here seems to get really excited about the concept of going to Costco and slamming food in their food court.
Hey, you know what? That's dad life, baby. Sometimes you just gotta fucking slam a greasy slice of pizza before the wife gets home. It happens.
I'll go absurd for you when you ask this question in the frozen or whatever. I have two choices I would pick above any frozen type of pizza. One, Totino's shitty pizza rolls or Tony's pizza rolls, or and then I'll regret this. Give me a full-blown pepperoni or pizza hot pocket. In fact, give me two. And I'm going to enjoy that a lot better than I'm going to enjoy like a DiGiorno or Red Baron or whatever.
Hey, here's a secret. I'm going to change your life right here. So here's a secret with the Hot Pocket. Put a little Frank's on your Hot Pocket next time you eat it. Very good. But with the pizza rolls. So I don't know where I saw this. I think my sister told me about it. But deep fry the pizza rolls. So obviously you don't throw them in. They're fucking frozen. So deep fry the pizza rolls and then toss them in garlic butter and then dip them in marinara.
Papa John's.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, so now you got everything. But toss them in garlic butter and try that. I tried it one time. We like dusted it with Parmesan cheese. You dip it in marinara.
That's
Incredible.
the point of the Fat Boy
I
Minute.
can hear us getting fatter.
This is a Fat Boy
Nice.
Minute. This is
So
a
my favorite
judgment-free
frozen
zone.
pizzas
Yeah,
are.
we can talk for. This is a free area for us to be
these
fat
ones
as
from.
fuck. As
I
long
think you
as
can get them
we
at
wanna
HEB.
talk.
They're called Midtown Midtown pizzas.
Oh yeah,
They're
those are good.
They're really good. They're
Yes.
that really thin. They're like what is it called? Napolitan or what?
Yeah,
whatever.
Neapolitan. Yeah,
I don't know. It's fucking.
But you cook it. What's
that
crazy for me about
Italian.
those-
It's like Italian style pizza, right? It's
You only
thin
cook 'em
crust,
for,
but
like-
not like shitty thin crust.
I think you cook them for like 8 minutes or something crazy. That's what shocked me with it was like it was like turn the oven to like 550 and but you cook it for like literally fucking 8 minutes where normally you cooking them for like 20-25 minutes.
I'll say this: worst pizza, hands down, in my opinion, that I've had in the past year, mod pizza. It's just nothingness. It
Mod?
just
Tastes
tastes like,
trash. Yeah.
doesn't matter what ingredients you add, it all tastes like bland nothing.
I don't mind mod pizza. You just gotta. You can't go like you have to treat it like a Subway. Like you need to pick all of your toppings perfectly. Like you need to get salami on there. You can't just go and like,
Dude,
I
fuck
want
you.
a cheese
Fuck
pizza
you.
it's gonna
Because
take
Subway
like a fucking
pizza,
basketball pizza
when they had it, was
but if
way
you're
fucking
right,
better than mod pizza. Subway
That
had
sounds-
pizza for a while. You don't remember that? Subway would
I don't.
throw it in the microwave
Yep.
thing. It was actually pretty fucking tasty. Mod pizza's trash. It's absolute garbage.
Yeah, Midtown Pizza. You preheat oven to 475 and you bake for 7 minutes.
Boom.
That's wild. That's wild. of course,
Blowing
it takes your
people's
oven
minds.
like an hour to get to 475, but
All right. And so with that, we will end a wonderful season 2, episode 22 of the Surly Horns podcast. Hook 'em.
hook 'em.
Yeah, hook 'em, guys.